Well, guys, I knew it would happen. Eventually, there was going to be something that I had to defend a Democrat for. And that may be now. That this may have happened. So, let's walk through it. Let's talk about it. And let's see whether or not any defense is warranted here. So, the first thing is, let's look at the tweet. A police officer just shut the door on Democratic Rep. Maxine Waters as she tried to check on someone detained by ICE, refusing to let her in. Now, she's there to check on that president of HEICU or whatever it is that the police arrested or that ICE arrested. So the question becomes, does congressmen, congresswomen, whatever, have the right of oversight to just walk into a federal building? And the answer is, it depends. So we know, let's look at a 30,000-foot view first. We know that Congress has the power of oversight over the federal branch the executive branch that is enshrined in Article 1, Section 1 of the United States Constitution. They have, quote, all legislative power. Of course, that's kind of been dumbed down over the last 40 years in executive actions and all sorts of stuff. But executive power or legislative power is completely enshrined within the legislative branch. We know that the Supreme Court has recognized that Congress's investigative power is, quote, broad but not unlimited, and it's subject to constitutional restraints like the Fourth Amendment, which protects against unreasonable searches and seizures, and members of Congress do not generally have a right to enter private property or federally funded facilities without consent or legal authorization. So what does that mean? Well, it means that they have to have a reason for being there, basically. But we also know that in most cases, a congressperson needs either an invite into the federal agency to conduct that oversight, or they need to have basically a congressional subpoena to go and conduct that oversight, with the exception of ICE and CBP facilities. So, Section 527 of the Consolidated Appropriations Act of 2020 allows members of Congress to conduct unannounced oversight visits to U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement facilities and U.S. Customs and Border Protection facilities without prior notice. And this was again reaffirmed in guidance issued by ICE in February of this year. Congressmen and women are allowed to enter ICE and CBP facilities to make sure everything is going correctly. Now, the question is, are there any limits on that entry? And there are. In times of danger, in times of genuine concern by people in that building, you are allowed to prevent people from entering. We know that federal buildings, which this was, are typically managed by agencies like the GSA, General Services Administration, or the Department of Homeland Security. And though an entry to those sort of buildings you have to be invited, basically. Obviously, if you come in with a federal subpoena, they'll have to let you in. But usually members of Congress have to comply with the protocols set up for members of the public to enter these buildings. They need, prior authorization. They might need they need their ID, and they probably need some sort of screening. CBP requires visitors, including members of Congress, to adhere to the facility's rules and security screenings. And for members of Congress and for members of the public, access can be denied if it jeopardizes safety, security, or operations. So there is a genuine question here of whether or not her entry. Now, it is very fair to say that if she had gone in there with this entourage that the video clearly shows she had, it definitely would have jeopardized safety, security, or operations. Now, there is a genuine question here as to whether or not, if she had just entered herself, if she had just walked up to the officer that was there and said, My name is Maxine Waters. I'm a congresswoman for California. I'm here to check on this person. It is me alone. Only I will enter. The rest of these people will stay here. He might have been wrong to deny her entry, but there was a genuine concern that she was trying to get a bunch of people in there, and that would violate the security concerns that the CBP and ICE had for that facility. Now, again, I've always said that I try to be, to quote Fox News, fair and balanced. It's going to be very interesting to see how all this stuff in LA plays out. I think that we've got an opportunity here to fix a lot of issues going on in California. What I don't want to see happen is a replay of Kent State in 1971. I don't want to see soldiers firing on crowds. I don't want to see that stuff. And I don't think anyone really wants to see that. What I want, and what I think most Americans want, is for the senseless invasions to end, for people to obey the rule of law. California has spent the last 15, 30 years just acting like they're their own country, deciding that they will not comply with the federal government. It didn't work in the 1830s when South Carolina tried it. It didn't work in the 1850s when the South tried it. It didn't work in the 2010s when Missouri tried it. It's not going to work now when California is trying it. California needs to abide by the law. There are places for pushback, absolutely. But completely denying access to federal agencies when it is their absolute mandate to do what you're trying to prevent them from being able to do is asinine. And if Donald Trump decides to arrest Gavin Newsom, if Tom Homan decides that Gavin Newsom is violating not only his oath of office, but the United States Constitution, then lock him up. Let's go. But until then, it is true that Maxine Waters may have had the right to enter the facility. I hope everyone has a good day. I hope you enjoy the video. I'll see you back here tomorrow morning. Peace out.